Well, let's get started here. Looks like the
Pit Rookie is going to get slammed down right here.
we're starting with Dreaming Tree and Zon out of the Annie deck.
Yeah, I mean, the Zon makes a lot of sense here for Annie. You just want to be able to sift through your deck, find the right cards, and put cards into your discard for the Vi for that ultra late game scenario where you can ride the wind and then gank over.
I believe it's Sett, Annie, Kaiser, Yi. If I am reading it correctly. It is Kaiser versus Yi on the other side.
Yes. So Lee Sin going to get thrown away here. Not going to be able to find any value right now, and it's going to be a bit of a lot more time before you really get to see that good value here. So for going to get exhausted, potentially just going to be dropping down that turn 2 Sett. Looks like it's going to be Kiana instead here. Just another very efficient unit, 4 cost, 4 might. Does require you to pay 1 power, but whenever you conquer, you may channel a rune or draw a card. Very powerful effect.
Kiana's very good. The deflect also very relevant on a card like this.
Yes.
So here comes a Kaiser. Kaiser's going to be pretty nice. Able to take out the Pit Rookie pretty cleanly.
Going to be able to draw a card as well, and then after the fact, you might, you can draw, then discard, then draw, or you can discard, then draw. So
we have a scrap heap. We're going to do that. Perfect. Scrap heap. Been very impressive out of these Annie lists, of course.
Oops. Yeah, Scrap Heaps is just one of those cards that I think is going to continue to find utility. The closest card that I could think of in Magic is Ichor Wellspring.
Sure.
But it's just better than that.
It's very good. And, I was talking with Ursiiday a little bit earlier about a card like this. I think it's only going to get stronger. Obviously we're getting some equipment and such in the next set.
Mm-hmm.
If we're seeing more card draw than we are now, we see some, or sorry, not card draw, but gear removal, right? We may be seeing more scrap heaps just hit the field and then be removed with that. So we're just moving that back to our base with Fight or Flight, discarding another scrap heap.
Yeah, I think Scrap Heap is just generating so much value here. Going to be able to use that Fight or Flight to draw a card off of that Dreaming Tree, and then immediately after the fact, get to discard that Scrap Heap, draw 2 more cards on as well. And I mean, this is just a lot of value here. This Showstopper is going to come down, going to bring Fiora all the way up to 5. And he did miss his trigger for the Annie there, but I don't think it is too relevant. Oh, no, he didn't. He used his Fight or Flight already.
He used that, yep.
Still the same turn.
I'm surprised if that was the play that we really wanted to make. We could have, in theory, hidden it as well. But again, that does recycle more runes if that's the play. So, Showstopper obviously being very, very strong in this matchup. And really, the deck, it's basically a Showstopper deck. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, this has just been one of the most powerful cards in the entirety of Riftbound right now. I think a lot of players didn't really value the movement of a card like this until they saw it played, and they're like, oh, wait.
Yeah, I mean,
that's legit.
I think of this card a lot like how Annie plays the deck, but the opposite, right? This one is moving towards the battlefields as opposed to away from them. But this card and Ride the Wind have very similar type of effects, right? You're able to sort of cheat the idea of your characters being limited to whatever speed they normally go at.
Right.
No acceleration. You're just working around that. And adding the buff is even better, in a deck like this, because now we have the ability to protect it with our leader. We can use it to draw an extra card sometimes with the Monastery when that's out. We can, use it to cast the Call of Glory a little bit cheaper than you would expect.
Right. And then the other thing too is that it's in colors that aren't necessarily known for movement. I mean, you do have First Mate, which can ready things. Body is known for being able to ready, certain characters, but it's not necessarily known for immense movement. And then Showstopper kind of shores off that weakness that I feel like Body and Order kind of have, in that it's very slow in what it wants to do, even though it is so proactive. So Darius is going to be the response here for Dizzee. He's going to be able to put it down. He does have 1 mana remaining, probably going to drop down a cleave, bring it all the way up to 7, potentially even 10. Not sure if he's going to buff the, what do you call it, the traveling merchant.
Almost weirdly surprised that we didn't. I guess we couldn't buff the other one. So we could have theoretically buffed the traveling merchant, right? Because it goes to 5.
Right.
I suppose because Kiana doesn't have. Yeah, Kiana doesn't have any real way of protecting it. We could have just cleaved the traveling merchant, gone in for the Kiana, right? Because it's 5.
Yep.
And then use the Darius on the Fiora. I suppose this does play around call, right?
I mean, I think the other way around also played around call.
Oh, sure, because you go for the buff first, and then. Yeah, I suppose that's okay. Because it also makes it so that the leader ability, like you can only do one because we only have 1 buff, so only one thing is happening. Either you save something, or you don't. Right? You can save it with the buff or save it with that.
Right. I mean, and the thing is like, even if you did that, right? So if he uses the Call to Glory, if Fiora's at 5, she goes down to 4, and then she gets the +3, right? So she would only go to 7, and then you just draw. Then he loses the Fiora. He can't protect it, and then the traveling merchant can just take out the Kiana anyways.
Yeah. Interesting. Honestly, we could have even drawn an extra card with the traveling merchant then, because you send the traveling merchant in first, then cleave, draw the card. Interesting. What an interesting line that could have happened.
All right, so now it's going to be back on to Kaiser here. We don't really quite have an idea of what he has in hand. It looks like he's got a Cythria, a couple other things here, and while Dizzee's flicking through his cards, I did manage to see what looked like a glimmer of a fight or flight, so he might have that second fight or flight available here. Now, that said, this Kiana is still just sitting in hand, or on field.
Yeah, fight or flight really awkward against this many deflect, especially with Fiora sometimes having it, It was a little awkward last turn. None of the spells felt particularly great.
Yeah, and I like this a lot here from Kaiser. Just understands that it's going to be incredibly difficult to defend against any player. I mean, that's just a fact of life, it feels like. Just such an aggressive list, able to be so proactive in terms of just being able to conquer battlefields here. So it is going to be up to Dizzee to try and figure out how to best navigate these following turns, as this Darius very likely going to be forced to just go back to base, not going to be able to hold a second time, especially not in that color pairing. Maybe if he had, maybe it was calm, red-green, then you might have some hopes of protecting it. But right now, it just feels like that's all you got to do, just bring it right back to base, and then hopefully find something better to do on these following turns. I would like to see him use the Traveling Merchant on the Dreaming Tree, or just send it to the Dreaming Tree, because
put Kaiser in there. We do have another Darius as well.
Yeah,
so that's what we picked up instead.
Yeah, I mean, he's already gotten 2 points off the Traveling Merchant.
I would assume that there's another Vi in hand, given that we got rid of one.
Yeah, I think it's a very last card in his hand there. But yeah, I mean, I think he's just holding on to this merchant a little bit longer than he should, to be honest. I feel like you just go for the point while it's available. Bring yourself up to that point lead here while it's, again, available. Your opponent's fully exhausted. He has no interaction. So you do have the opportunity to get this point here. You get to also get the move trigger, so you can discard another card and find just a different piece that maybe is more useful in this matchup.
So now we can untap the Darius as well with whatever we play here. We do play Kaiser, not opting for acceleration, which I think makes sense. It doesn't really do anything to accelerate it. I don't mind putting it somewhere, but I think it's completely unnecessary. It makes it awkward if you have flash, if they have something to do with it. Like, even if you have flash, it doesn't really do a whole lot for you.
Yeah.
It does. It forces them to move to a battlefield, but like if flash is the thing that you're using to save them. Like, they're going to come back anyway.
It looks like that is going to be that Vi that you were talking about.
Okay, so it does just play the Vi. So we just run out everything that we've got here. Say, please don't have challenge, I guess, and then say go.
Yeah, now, unfortunately, I do believe that we did get to see a challenge in his hand. So, Kaiser going to draw an additional card. He does have that Zonite Warrens to be able to have access to. Might be able to just utilize that. Just to discard a card, hopefully find something a little bit more useful than what he has in hand, depending on whether or not what he has is useful or not. So, going to be able to peek at his opponent's hand finally, just be able to see what is going on. And there is that Fight or Flight, as well as a scrap heap and a stacked deck. I feel like the Fight or Flight is the card that's going here.
I would guess that's the case as well. Almost interested to know why we didn't just Fight or Flight the Traveling Merchant now to discard the scrap heap.
Because he's not in a showdown.
Is it not a showdown? That would make sense. That's what we were talking about earlier, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, this is a difficult scenario here for Kaiser. I think he's just writing down all the things that he can because he's got all the time in the world to do so. So
I suppose it's just Flash. Yeah, that's right. Flash would have worked. This does not. Again, we could have hidden this. That was an option that we had last turn as well.
that actually might have been a pretty good play considering all of the options he had available to him.
Puts us a little low on runes, perhaps, was the consideration.
I think what he was thinking there is that his only interaction is the Fight or Flight, so he's just going to play the Vi and then use the Fight or Flight. But I think that you kind of underestimated the value of the stacked deck. I think I would have rather used the stacked deck on my turn and then just readied the 2 runes rather than play the Vi.
Sure.
Because you do leave yourself susceptible to a challenge here on that Vi, and if that does happen, I feel like you're in a pretty bad spot.
Yeah, I don't know. Not playing around challenge, I think, is a little unfortunate here. Given, I mean, maybe he's not thinking about challenge at all, and that's why we're considering it. But you really don't want to lose Vi for free if you don't have to, and making it vulnerable in that spot, it just really isn't stellar in my opinion. But it is what it is.
Yep. So he's just going to use stack deck just to be able to find something for the next turn here. And then that looks like that Kiana is going to be able to get that Conquer off. So he'll decide to use the Kiana draw first, and then he'll decide whether or not what he wants to do with the rest of his hand here. So going to discard another Arena Bar. Interestingly enough, he was utilizing it so much in these previous games that I expected him to just want to have at least one onto the board, but I guess because of how Annie works, it just feels a little bit too uncomfortable.
Don't necessarily have the time here either to pay 3 for an Arena Bar and just like put 1 buff on.
Right.
It could just be because we've been on the back foot a lot this particular game that we just haven't had the opportunity.
That makes a lot of sense to me here. So, I mean, now in response, though, this Sett and this Fiora is going to be able to get buffed here, and because that Kinko Monk came into play, so does Cythria. So now Fiora is going to go right into that Traveling Merchant. Sett doesn't really have to do anything as of yet, but he will be able to clap back after the fact. So it looks like there is not a challenge in his hand. Otherwise, I feel like you just kind of have to challenge the Vi. You don't want to let it get all of that recycling off before you attempt to challenge here. So not sure why he's recycling the rune. There it is. There's that challenge that we were talking about. It looks like Fiora is going to be the target here.
Yeah, so does end up having the answer to the Vi here, which, again, very awkward, given that now we just don't have a Vi at all.
Yeah, and I think one of the most interesting things about the challenge here is the fact that it's on the Dreaming Tree. So once he used that challenge, he was able to draw a card as well because Fiora was chosen. So,
and if that's a Hidden Blade, then this game is probably over. There's really not a lot of hidden cards in this deck.
Where's the hiddens? Okay.
And we don't have a ton of great ways of dealing with this massive board. And also a Hidden Blade as well. Because we just, knowing what we had in hand, I don't know if we really have enough resources to work through that.
Yeah, and especially because the fact that this Sett here is an 8, with tank.
Yeah, it's very, very large. We can potentially just deal with the other battlefield, but I don't know how we get around just like hold in this particular spot without a Vi.
Yeah, I agree with you here, and this is what I was talking about, right? Is like he did not respect the challenge there, and then I feel like this challenge just severely punished him, much more than I think he was willing to admit. And I think now that he's just going back and rereading it, he's kind of realizing the misplay that was made there, potentially, or there could be a card that he was just playing around that we didn't quite think of yet.
I know that there's only one Vi left in the deck because he discarded one earlier, which is really awkward. In the same way that you ideally want to keep your Annie as safe as you can for as long as you can in the champion zone, right? The champion unit. If you don't have a backup Vi, if you don't want to have one in hand, like you're missing out on that element to try and both clear the board or have the ability to finish out the game. And since our opponent is already at 6 points, we need to make sure that we're removing as much as we can. This would be the turn where it would be at its best. Unfortunately, because we know that there's a hidden blade there, or a hidden card, if you will, that may be a disaster if we don't have an additional Vi plus like flash ride the wind. Like we would need all of our runes plus all of that, and I just don't see him having it. We have another Darius. I mean, there's a world where we can get in there coming in for like 11 that sort of plays around the hidden blade a little bit.
Well, because it was a little rough.
I mean, it would be both of the Dariuses, and
the
then
Sett
one
plus
of
the
them
Kiana
goes
is
away.
already 12, and then the
It
Sidria
is.
does make it all the way up to 14. So double Darius would have to come in just to be able to clear the field, and then not to mention if there's any sort of tricks that are available. It's kind of
Both in
game
over
over.
here before we play anything.
No, I don't mind this at all here from Dizzee. I think this is a pretty smart line. I think you just accept it, take out the Darius, let him draw the card off the Kaiser, just because it's that little bit smaller. And then, you still get to protect all of your dudes. Your Sett might exhaust here. I don't know that you protect the Fiora. I think I'd rather hold on to the Sett than the Fiora.
Sure.
But obviously Kaiser is in the top 4 for a reason. So if he's like, you know what, I kind of want the Fiora over the Sett, I could totally reasonable to see that, just because that ganking has come in handy for him several times.
Decides to take out the draw. Okay.
Looks like the Fiora is just going to get recycled here. So Sett is vulnerable.
A little vulnerable, perhaps.
It's going to be up to Dizzee to try and find a way to remove the Sett while it is available to be removed. One thing that I think is very interesting about his list here is that he kind of only sits at around 5 to 4 runes most of the game. It's felt like there's been quite a few games where Collin's just been stuck at 4 to 5 runes pretty much the whole time, and then still picks up the win anyways.
Yeah, I mean, once you already have all of your units in play, or a huge chunk of them, you can kind of just not play stuff anymore. You just don't really need to most of the time. You just recycle your runes down, but you're keeping every time that you keep a unit alive, it's like having an entire unit played, essentially. So it feels very high tempo to be able to do that.
Right.
We could ride the wind, I guess. I don't know how well this line does into Hidden Blade.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm a fan of that at all. I think he still needs to find a way to deal with this here, and I think he's kind of agreeing with us that ride the wind doesn't really do anything. And then if there's any sort of trick, which we assume that there is because of what we assume is Hidden Blade in the battlefield.
He just passed.
Yep.
I'm not sure what we have for our interaction here, but we'll have to see what this looks like. I mean, we'd only be holding up to 7 from Annie's side of things. There is a hidden card just below the
Cytherea.
Zon battlefield. It's below the Cytherea there. That upside down card is likely a hidden blade or whatever hidden card they have, but I don't know how many.
There's
they're actually
Facebreaker
running.
as well, but
I don't know if he certainly doesn't have Facebreaker in the main if he has them.
Okay.
And I don't believe that he was running Cub, so is most likely Blade, basically.
Yep. So he's just gonna send both of them in here, leave both of his characters or all of his runes readied. And yeah, I mean, this is a pretty tough situation to be in here. You don't really have too much interaction, so potentially just gonna use Ride the Wind to protect his Darius, just bring it right back to the base. But instead going to attempt to Ride the Wind into the Sett. But what?
So he's moving into the other battlefield to be an attacker over there. And then I think we're going to Ride the Wind the other one in to the other battlefield.
Oh, I see.
Because you can't go to the same battlefield twice, basically.
Right, right. So just going to use that primal strength here. It is actually going to put him right at 15, so just barely out of range there. And now, I mean, that double Ride the Wind play might have been game losing here, and it looks like he's just ready to scoop it up. So,
well, I don't know what else he had in his hand in that spot. That's what he had. So, a bit unfortunate there.
Good attempt, but unfortunately, yeah, just that the Primal Might was in hand, ready and waiting. So, going to be able to take game number 1 is Kaiser, and I mean, it's just so far, it just feels like the Sett deck has been unbeatable.
It is a very good deck. I know that there are additional sideboard cards that are very good against Sett here. The ability to send a card back to hand instead of somewhere else is very powerful, especially when they're getting so low on runes consistently. You know, as we noticed, like, okay, so in that spot he primals something, and then you rebuke. Now it goes back to hand instead of to the base. And if we're down that many runes already, like it can be a bit of a disaster, right?
Absolutely.
So that is a way that you can
mitigate
a little bit of what's going on here. Now, I can't imagine that we're going to be siding in the brawlers out of Sett. We're going to probably leave the orange in the board, not for this matchup. Again, I'm pretty sure that that's mostly just for the calm matchups, so that you can keep up with the larger characters.
Yeah, and all the combat tricks, really.
And all the tricks, yep. Annie almost certainly going to run out the Arena's Greatest here for the extra point, have a better chance in game 2 on the play to just try and close out quick, and then in game 3, see what we can do. Similar to what we had last match, where you know, you take the game, we can get a little bit of points a little bit faster, and then kind of go from there.
Guess he's going to the bathroom. Now, if I'm the Sett player here and I know I'm on the draw, I think Hirana, Monastery of Hirana, is probably my best bet here.
Yeah. Monastery.
Oh, you clicked on the wrong one.
I did click on the wrong one. I don't know how. Yeah, the Monastery being entirely one-sided makes it much better on the draw in a matchup like this, where you don't care quite as much about your opponent getting any advantage out of it. You get to be able to grab extra stuff, extra cards when you need them, assuming that there are extra buffs. You know, there may not be as many opportunities for extra buffs if we're not able to get the arena bar down,
right?
Kind of like we had before, but they may be just big enough that that doesn't matter, just like we saw there. You know,
right?
A little bit of buffs seem to go a long way in this deck because the base might is so high, especially coming out of the Kingpin.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest issues with Leona has been the fact that, there's not enough stun units to really utilize her legend.
Sure.
And really, most of the buffing units kind of belong to body, right? That orange color rather than that yellow. And Leona has a lot of tools in her toolkit. I feel like she's still just missing a couple of pieces to really be a viable and top tier list.
Sure.
I think that the buff, like just being able to buff all of your units passively with other effects, seems like such a strong ability. But again, there's just not quite enough in the gas tank as of yet for that Leona deck to be able to do so. But Body has all of the buffed units. It's got Pit Rookie, it's got Kinko Monk, it's got Cythria, it's got no, I think that's all of them actually. I think those are the main ones.
An arena bar, of course.
And arena bar. Thank you. That's what I was missing. Yeah. So just so many different tools to be able to buff your units and just make them that one bigger passively. You don't think it matters that much, but going against it and just seeing it in action, you realize that it is an extra stat is a lot.
Well, also when they can be used as resources for other stuff, being able to cast Call when you're fully tapped out, very, very nice. The ability when we do have the monastery out to pick up some extra cards, keep the cards flowing. You can be a little bit more aggressive with how you're trading out. Exactly what we expected for the battlefields here. So we do have the monastery, and then we also just have the arena's greatest.
Yeah, and again, the Annie player wants the game to go quick. The Sett player doesn't really care the length of the game. He just wants to be able to go over to the top of the Annie. And in game number one, that's exactly what happened there. Just too many stats on the board, couldn't deal with what was going on. And Sett just kind of doing exactly what Sett does, which is he kind of flexes his muscles, and then everyone's like, oh my God, you're so hard. And then they give up.
Yeah, there's a world where every time that you're on the play with Annie, you basically run out arena's greatest. So your game 2's a lot or game 3, depending upon if you won game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, you just want to close out that game as quick as you can. You get the most advantage from it, and you just try to close. If you start with a 2 leading into like the sneaky deckhand, you just get in and out and done.
This is true. All right, so Kaiser just gonna show that he's drawn 4 cards. Sneaky Deckhand, I think it was one of my favorite cards. First off, I love the art. Whoever did the art, I'm not gonna attempt to say that name.
Dao Trong Lee.
Okay, he. I think you did it.
Looks right to me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say you're right. But yeah, no, seriously, beautiful art. I love Gangplank. It just kind of like alludes to it. It's a Bilgewater. It's a pirate. Yeah, it's just really good. And then also, it kind of feels very thematic to how the card art looks, which I think is very unique for a flavor for a card. Yeah. Usually the card art kind of is the card art, and then the flavor of the card resembles what the theme of the card is supposed to represent, not necessarily the art. Right. Like Pouty Poro, he doesn't look like he deflects things. He just looks like he's a little upset.
A little chubby, It's all right. Starting with a 2, very important in this matchup.
Absolutely.
Very important in every matchup, especially with Annie, though. When we're on the play, we really want to be able to close out the game sooner than later. So you want to be getting your points in really as quick and often as you can. If we have the deckhand here, I would not be shocked if we use it. Just go up to 3, make it so that it's really hard for Collin to actually just get in and slow us down.
Right.
There is likely not going to be able to take both unless we have Showstopper specifically, and we have answers if they're tapped out for Showstopper.
Right. And I think one of the biggest issues that I have right here, if that sneaky deckhand does make its way onto the field, but it looks like it's not going to be the case. Kaiser is going to be the response here. So thankfully for him, he doesn't have to worry about that. But if that sneaky deckhand did come into play here, really, it's almost guaranteed that at least one of them would have held. So that sneaky deckhand would have actually just been worth 2 points for 3 mana. And that would have been absolutely devastating, especially because that extra point that both players already have. So Dizzee would have been up to essentially 4 points on turn 2. And that's problematic.
It is problematic. And it definitely one of the best follow-ups to your first turn 2 drop.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we didn't have it, such as life. You have it as often as you can. Sometimes you just don't. So This is the Fiora into likely the Showstopper if we've got it.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see a showstopper if it is at all possible here, but it doesn't seem to be in hand. I think it's Primal Might, Challenge, unsure. I think it's Arena Bar and then Pit Rookie.
Okay. And I believe that the Sabotage is in the back there. Was
Sabotage.
The card in the back, yeah. So Poro trades. They decide to save it with their Sett, which I think is fine.
Yeah, I mean, I like this a lot. You know, you're just using your rune, using your runes as just a removal tool. I think a lot of Magic players would be happy to just sack a land and destroy target creature. So
yeah, it's not too bad. But really, the Poro had already gained a point. That's what you want out of most of your cards in Annie. If you can get more than one, you know, rebuy it and get them back in, that's great. If you can't, it's okay.
Yeah,
You'll survive.
Yeah. I mean, really, you know, the game is just about getting to 6 points as quick as possible and then just playing Vi and then riding the wind and ending it.
That is a good way to do it. So Kaiser comes in. We do collect a card and a point. Pretty good. Classic Kaiser maneuver. We're going to do stack deck. See what we're working with here. If you're glut on Ride the Winds, it's not unreasonable to Ride the Wind Kaiser to the other battlefield and pick up another card. If you you know, have additional units to play, now's a good time to run them out. Another Kaiser would be okay too, especially if you have Flash. Double Kaiser, collect your extra card draw, and then flash them back on their turn.
I mean, yeah, looks like he has a flash. I couldn't quite see what the other two cards that he was considering.
Trying to make a plan here with those three cards. So there's a flash in there. It does look like a Ride the Wind, and maybe that was a Rebuke.
I think that was a Rebuke, yeah. It looked vaguely like Rebuke.
Rebuke is really good. It's a little awkward against Fiona because... Fiora. This one's Fiora.
There's no Fiona in League of Legends.
That's what you think. Maybe there is. You don't know.
Maybe there will be in the future.
Could be. Fiora, of course. If you end up having to use that, you dunk 3 runes is a lot. But
yeah,
if it protects your board, you know, sometimes that's okay. If we have flash in hand, almost certainly coming down next turn.
Yeah, I mean, we know that he didn't take the flash.
Fiora, that's what I'm... Yeah.
Oh, Fiora and Leona. Yeah, I mean, I just thought that you just, like, were a big fan of Shrek.
Shrek's okay. You know, it's all right.
Did you see all 3 of them?
I don't even know.
Shrek 1, 2, 3, yeah.
There's only one, sorry.
Oh. There's a lot of Shrek fans that we just upset right now.
Good. So we'll see what we're playing here.
I think it's a Pit Rookie. Yep.
Pit Rookie makes sense. Get the buff now so that it actually has the Mighty to start before you really do anything.
Right. Just going to send it right into the Kaiser, try and force some sort of interaction here. So might use that Rebuke that he has available to him. And it looks like that is going to be the case. So he's going to have to tuck a 3rd rune for that deflect.
Don't love this.
That feels real bad. I'm not going to be... I mean, you know, granted, he is going to be able to go all the way up to 6 points with this Rebuke because of it. So... You know, all things considered,
I'm surprised.
Horrible situation.
I know that we were holding the 4 up for Primal Strength. I'm surprised that we didn't Sabotage before we played Pit Rookie.
Yeah, I would like to have seen that instead, actually. I think that would have been much better. But yeah, that Primal Strength is just going to come down now. And so now at least Cythria can get rid of the Darius. And then Cythria can spend her buff to draw a card. So... At least he gets to refuel his hand just a little bit and cycle through that Primal Strength, get himself that point and deny that 6th point that Dizzee's trying to get to here. And yes, while he is only at 4 runes, he is at 5 points. And now this Kaiser will be able to retreat safely and then just go ahead and be on the attack on that following turn.
Yeah, there's even a world where you like Ride the Wind over and take it out, draw another card, get the other point, go to 6. goes a little low on runes. We go back to 3. That's a possibility too. And then Kaiser would actually be safe. I mean, it doesn't really matter if Ride the Wind is the play. The consideration, I think, is Flash. Either Flash or Fight or Flight.
Right.
Because if you use Flash or Fight or Flight here, hey, Medina, appreciate that. Thanks to the good 25 gifted. Blowing it up in chat. That's great.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah, if we wanted to actually take out the other battlefield, we could have flashed, brought it back, and then challenged in directly. Well, thanks so much for the kind words.
Very much appreciated, man.
All right, so we're paying 2 here. I don't hate Ride the Wind. I don't mind just playing another unit. A couple of traveling. This lets us get back up a little bit on our runes, since obviously we went down pretty far to stow the tempo that Fiora was about to gain.
Yeah, that Fiora, I think, was putting a lot of pressure here on Dizzee, and I think he realized that. Just to stave it off with that Rebuke is going to stall her out for at least one more turn because of it. So now this Cleave is the only viable option.
Ooh.
Vi is the only one in hand. He is going to put it in the discard. It is actually supposed to be recycled, so hopefully he does fix that here shortly because that is relevant to
It is very relevant
list.
here. The judge is watching, so is likely going to tell him here. I can see him between the two. Kind of does this a little bit on the camera.
Okay.
But hopefully they do catch the sabotage. It is very relevant for Vi.
Okay. Maybe. All right. I'm gonna go get the judge. 1 second.
We'll go let him know real quick. Not that big of a deal, but it is relevant, and it can be relevant later. Debating, I think maybe on playing the Fiora back out here. All right, got it squared away, not a big deal. Nothing has really happened since then, so. All right, so plays the Fiora back directly to the monastery, and then just says go with 2 up. No orange runes at all. No body.
No challenge available.
No challenge available. No, a lot of things actually. Hidden Blade, notably, probably still an option. Facebreaker if they have it. But it does limit the amount of reactions coming out from the other side here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the big issues that Dizzee is facing here is how do I deal with this Fiora? So just going to send in the Traveling Merchant and hopefully make the trade. Understands that he just needs to find the right cards, doesn't really necessarily need these Traveling Merchants, just wants to use them while they're available here. So just going to use that Call to Glory while it's available. And now this put rookie is going to last for the turn, which means that neither this Kaiser nor this Traveling Merchant really has an opening into this turn anymore to be able to take any of these battlefields because there's still those 2 runes available. He still has several cards in hand as well. So very risky play to go for, and I think Dizzee recognizes that.
I mean, sometimes with the Traveling Merchants, you're just using them to discard draw, and then and bait something out. And we did end up baiting something out here a little bit, right? We're able to get Rebuke. Ooh, we get Rebuke back? Okay.
So just going to use the Rebuke to get rid of this Fiora. Use that Kaiser to draw an additional card. Yes, it does keep you on 5 runes on that following turn, but he doesn't have many cards in hand, so not very many interactions available to him. This does mean that now this Kaiser can get in and draw him an additional card, hopefully find him a little bit more tools
Very true.
On this following turn. As well, it is going to bring him all the way up to 6 points, and that means that on the following turn with that Vi, if he does find that Ride the Wind, we'll be able to close this game out.
Rebuke demonstrating why it is very powerful in this, especially alongside the Chaos Annie. Just being able to bring this back, use it again. I don't know what else Collin has in hand that can interact in this spot.
It would have to be Facebreaker.
It would have to be Facebreaker, Hidden Blade, I guess.
Hidden Blade would be the other one, but I don't think you'd want a Hidden Blade with your opponent just that far ahead of you right now. Yes, you're at 4 points. You are going to be going up to 5 points, but there's just going to have to be an entire turn cycle before you actually are able to interact with your opponent here. So while this Pit Rookie does have +3 for the turn, it does mean that it is going to go back down to 2, and that's his only unit on the field.
Currently, yeah.
So unless he has a Lee Sin available, which I believe he discarded it, it might have been the first turn or first game. I think it was.
I think if Dizzee wants, I don't hate discard draw with the traveling merchant, just moving it into the
monastery.
Yeah, just moving it into the monastery. If you need the draw, right? Because we know that his hand is pretty mediocre, right?
Yeah, I mean, a sneaky deckhand at this point, it really isn't doing much. So
right. So I think you move the merchant just to do the discard draw, and then we'll see what they're doing. Obviously, double orange makes sense this turn, given that we didn't really have any.
He has all of the order runes. There's no possibility.
Right. There is a lot that can happen in this spot. There is a challenge, which is very good. There's 2 of them, actually. And we know that there's not going to be any rebuke from the other side.
Yeah, and there's not going to be a cleave either as a response because you're not in a showdown. So that is another thing that you'd have to worry about, as well as they'd be defending rather than attacking. So looks like this Fiora is going to come down here.
I would even probably just do the Sett leader. It's a little bit bigger. The Fiora's kind of past its prime a bit, I think. And we have multiple challenges here that we can do.
Yeah, the issue with playing the Sett here is that it is at a battlefield, which means that Hextech Ray is available. So that is something
there is
to consider.
A Hidden Blade in hand as well, from what I can see. So that card in the front is Hidden Blade. So there's a lot that can be done this turn. So opting to try and fight the Annie in the back. Okay. Pulling back, and then... Okay, and then just passing it back. Going up to 7 here for Annie.
And Dizzee does not find any purple runes here.
I mean, that's to be
expected.
That
just completely cuts off the Ride the Winds.
We know that 6 of them are on the bottom, so that is 100% to be expected.
5 are on the bottom.
No, because we played...
Oh, that's right, you played Annie.
Yeah,
that's true.
So that's where we know where they all are, so...
Yeah, this is a pretty tough situation then.
Does get to discard another scrap heap? Or is that just another...
It's a sneaky deckhand.
Another sneaky deckhand?
Yes. So, I mean, he can go ahead and try and develop the Vi for this turn. But, I mean, I think after game 1, it feels incredibly risky to do so. Because if Kaiser does have that second challenge available to him, that could just beat the entire game. That's kind of what happened in the first game there, was that
I don't think you need to play...
It was fairly back and forth, and then the Vi got taken out, and then there was really no hope for Dizzee to close out the game.
Yeah, I don't think you need to Vi at all here. Realistically, it's fine, I guess, but you just don't need it out. It just doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. No, I like the Annie a lot here just because it's in the base. So it really does have that opportunity to interact with the Sett, which just makes things so much more difficult to defend.
Yeah.
And he wants to be able to hold on to that point because he needs that extra point right now. So, yeah, I mean, Dizzee doesn't have too many options available to him. I like the Vi right now. It is going to be big on the following turn, which is nice. But there is going to just be exactly Ride the Wind available to him on that following turn. You said that you saw a Hidden Blade, which means that he does actually have the answer. So... things are going to get a little complex here.
It's certainly an answer, but being at 7 makes it a little tricky because if you overcommit your answers, I mean, 6 to 7 is pretty tough here, right? So if you ever hide the Hidden Blade somewhere and only have 1 unit, if it gets fight or flighted, then you have to use the Hidden Blade either on your character right then, or not at all.
Right. Yeah, I just don't think you can hide Hidden Blade into a Chaos deck. I think Chaos just has so much movement capabilities that it just feels incredibly risky to do so. Through the rebukes, through those fighter flights that we had just mentioned, it's incredibly difficult to hold onto a point with just one unit.
Yeah, I really don't know what we're looking at casting here. The only thing that I would really not hate is if we do, if we still have the voids in, right? If we do Void Seeker and then respond to a pump spell with Gust to bounce it to their hand, I wouldn't hate that. But if we only have Void Seeker, I don't know if I love that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he cares too much about losing a pit rookie either. So exactly like you called it here is that Void Seeker. So if he does have the Gust, that will be the response back. So it's going to be up to Kaiser to try and figure out what to do here. I think you're okay with just letting the unit go. I think you need to figure out
a future plan.
A future plan, exactly, yeah. So Kaiser limited on options, but not out of this yet.
Yeah, if we're able to hold Gust back, it is pretty nice. Because it's being able to remove something off the field when you're trying to, maybe clear out everything can be pretty nice. Now, it is only at battlefield, so we can't protect, say, the Vi at all with it. But
yeah, I mean, I see a pit rookie in his hand. It looks like there's a challenge there as well as a hidden blade. I'm not sure what the first card in hand is, nor am I sure what that second card is right under that pit rookie.
I believe that is the strength that he's had in his hand basically all game.
Primal strength. Didn't he use it earlier? He used it earlier on the pit rookie. Yeah, so there's that challenge. And that Vi is going to get taken out.
Okay, unlucky. Not really, because we knew that he had... basically, this has been the answer constantly to deal with this Vi, that you just run out raw.
Oh, right,
it doesn't mean that we don't have another Vi in hand, though. And maybe baiting out one of the removal spells.
So instead, just going to drop down Fiora. Has no defensive abilities, was what it looks like right now. So this pit rookie, very likely going to be the card that's coming down here. I think he's just reconsidering, making sure that he doesn't need to use this hidden blade this turn here. And I think that's fair to say.
I think if you pit rookie, you have to hide the hidden blade. Otherwise, you just lose straight up to the Vi combo.
He killed the Vi.
Another Vi combo, like out of their out of their hand. Yeah,
sure.
So he does hide the hidden blade.
So it looks like that's a Void Seeker in hand. Yeah, I mean, the Sett is really annoying to deal with here, and Dizzee just needs to use the Kaiser, I think, just to draw 2 cards on that empty battlefield while it's available, and then hopefully find something a little bit more useful to do. Because right now you're just not breaking that wall. He is going to be able to go all the way up to 7, and then if you leave that battlefield open, game's over. So need to at least just find something to do, and being able to draw 2 cards here I feel like is very powerful.
Yeah, Fiora being able to gank a little awkward. Because you can't just set up in the other battlefield and wait, because they can move over. Showstopper also a consideration that you have to work around a little bit, because if they have it, obviously they can retreat back, move over. So that is a possibility that is of concern. I mean, I'm not sure that we're beating that line anyway. Right? If they have that, that means that they can move basically everything over to the battlefield at the same time, or, in a row, right? They move one and then they move the other one, and that's problematic.
Okay. All right, and so now Dizzee's just really thinking through this turn here. I think he kind of sees the writing on the wall here. Doesn't really understand how he's supposed to get himself out of this situation. So just going to use that Kaiser like we had talked about, just to be able to draw 2 cards here. And Kaiser really just putting the pressure on. And I do see a Fading Memories that he just managed to pick up, but it might be a little bit too late here, as this Fiora is going to be able to get that point. And it could just be that it's yeah, I don't know what to do with that.
I mean, Fading Memories can take out the Sett without really the ability to protect it.
Right. So it can take out the Sett, but it can't take out Fiora, because Fiora can just eat a rune and then be fine. But she would still have temporary.
She would have temporary. I mean, it would be...
You'd have to buff her every single turn for the rest of the game to keep her alive. But you would be able to keep her alive.
You could technically keep her alive. I don't know if we necessarily would want to hit Fiora anyway, just because we would have to...
Recycle a second rune.
We'd have to recycle a second rune, which I don't know if we can afford to do.
Yeah.
The awkward part is that if we do Fading Memories, that we do not have any more chaos available, because we got rid of so much of it earlier.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty difficult turn to be in here. It looks like he's just going to spend his 5 or 4 runes, just use that Fading Memories and pray to the gods. Nope. Instead, cycling. Nope. Okay.
I mean, we can add another unit and try to hold. That's an option, but I don't know if that's really a winning line.
I think he's considering how the Fading Memory works, because the reason why you'd want to do that, right, is just
so that
like
she can't gank.
It's not that. Well, yes, but I meant the protection against the Fading Memories is just because you have a showstopper and you just want to use her instead of the Sett.
Sure.
I'm not sure why you would pick her over the Sett, but that is a possibility. So
yeah, because it just puts her back at base.
Yeah.
I mean, the temporary is very powerful. We can do... Well, if we look at Sett's ability, right, it does exert them, right? Because it recalls it, so it's exhausted.
Yes.
So it's interesting. I can see what the consideration is if we want to get rid of 2 runes and make it so that the Sett, or sorry, the Fiora is just kind of trapped in limbo forever if they want to save it.
Right.
Then we're still in a spot where if they have Showstopper, it's a bit of a problem.
So
Talking it through, but definitely not lightning fast. All right, so here's our Fading Memories.
All right. So the Fading Memories is going to come out. And unfortunately, guys, I do have to head out. I got to catch a flight. So, thankfully, we have a better caster, Ursiiday.
All right, Ursi jumping in. So we do Fading Memories, the Fiora. Opting to just Hidden Blade the Fiora here.
Ooh, that's interesting. By going in with that Hidden Blade on his own character, we are going to get to see 2 more cards. And I was trying to watch from outside. Did seem like we were kind of low on hand cards. Maybe I was wrong with that on the smaller screen. But getting 2 more cards is going to be really nice for Collin. Does look like he's going to move Pit Rookie up. Oh, with Primal Might.
So we have to have something to answer this for Primal Might.
Void Seeker.
We cannot respond with Void Seeker in the way that he wants, right?
Yes, his actions, what I think happened is he got his Primal Might and then he Void Seekered, so the damage ended up like equating.
Sure. That would make sense.
Yeah, but I see what you mean, because if he'd been able to react to it, he could kill it before it was able to get bigger. But instead, we were able to clear out the battlefield on that top battlefield and play another unit, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to take it for the win just this turn.
So the trouble here for Annie is that we have so few runes to work with
Oh yeah.
that it is going to be very difficult. I mean, okay, if we have the Vi combo, so if we have Vi and Ride the Wind, we've got it this turn. But if we don't have Vi, which we lost one earlier for free to challenge again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a bad matchup for Annie for sure, but Annie does seem to have been pulling pretty strong here, but showing that entire hand, oh, wait, do we have a sabotage or something, or did we?
I
Scoop.
believe that he scooped.
Okay, yep, that's going to be a scoop, and just like that, Collin is going to take the top 4 with a 2-0.
You can Vi Ride the Wind with 4. It is actually just 4 runes.
Yeah, so Vi costs 2 runes herself, and then Ride the Wind is 2 as well. You pull her up into one of the battlefields, and there was an open one up top, and it would ready her, and then she could gank down to the bottom. So it would just be 4 runes. It'd be a lot of your discard pile, but if it's your last turn, who cares?
Yeah. So if we had the full combo there, it would have worked. Unfortunately, we lost our Vi earlier, which unfortunately meant we didn't have it in that spot. Usually, if you can, you want to try to protect the Vi as much as possible, so that it does not, get taken out by something like a challenge. But unfortunately, we didn't, and they had it, so that was it.
Yeah, sometimes like we are able to do that Ride the Wind combo without Vi, but it doesn't seem like that was going to be the case, at least at the end of this game.